Hey everybody, welcome back. Last week we spoke about MAC Authentication Bypass. And as the name implies, Authentication Bypass, it's not secure. However, it's necessary for some organizations to use MAB in order to connect some devices that do not talk 802.1x. But as always, it's better to do things a little bit more securely whenever possible. My lab is running MAB, and today we're going to change that up. We're going to take a look at PEAP. Now, when you say why PEAP, well, the other option is EAP-TLS, and it's a very good option that you should explore in your organization if you are not already. EAP-TLS uses certificates, client and server-based certificates. It's a great thing, keeps things secure. That's what you should be doing. The other option is PEAP. Now, PEAP uses a server certificate. However, it's really just username and password, which at least it is a step above MAB with the MAC address. So it's simple to configure as well. We're going to take a look at that in the lab before we jump into anything that's certificate based. However, my advice to you is to take a look at certificates and see what you can do. I know certificates might be a pain, but it is worth it to keep your environment secure. Today, we're going to take a look at PEAP. So in the lab, we'll keep things a bit simple, and that's why we're looking at PEAP MS Chat version 2. However, in an enterprise in your organization, definitely take a look at EAP-TLS, and maybe we'll explore EAP-TLS a couple weeks down the road. Doing things with certificate might make things a little bit more complex, but it is a great thing to do. The first thing I'm going to do here, though, for PEAP is I'm going to create another SSID. That way I don't mess around with the original SSID that I had here in the lab. So let's go over. I'm in the 9800 CL, my virtual controller that I have running. I'm going to take a look at my SSIDs. So you can see there's lab admin. All I want to do is clone this just so I can keep most of the settings in place. I'm going to name this lab auth, and that's going to be the SSID name. Let's get rid of 6 gigahertz. Let's get rid of 2.4. We're just going to leave 5 gigahertz there. Under security, all those settings from my original SSID were copied. I'm going to get rid of MAC filtering, and no longer will it be a pre-shared key. Let's do 802.1x. And we'll click Apply to Device. Now I have the second SSID there. However, it's not on my access point yet. So what I want to do is let's make a change here real quick. I want to add some policy tags here. We'll click Add. We'll add the policy tags that I had already in the profile. That way this SSID can be on my access point. We'll click Save, Update. There we go. So let's save. Perfect. Now, I wouldn't be able to connect to LabAuth because I haven't done the authentication work. The policy set hasn't been created. So we're going to take a look at that now in ISE. Let's go over to ISE. And the first thing I want to do is under policy, let's take a look at the components, the results. And you'll see here that allowed protocols is the first thing we want to take a look at. There's a default network access, which allows a ton of protocols. I want to narrow it down to just EAP. So that's all I'm looking for from my endpoints, especially for the new policy that we're creating. To make life easier, let's create a clone here, a duplicate. And we're going to change this. We'll name it allow EAP. Because let's say in the future we start taking a look at EAP-TLS, let's take a look at EAP in general in the coming weeks. I do want to uncheck process host lookup, so MAC authentication bypass. Let's uncheck that. Let's uncheck PAP. We'll check MS Chat version 2 there. We'll leave all the other EAPs alone. We see PEAP there. And we'll close these out. We'll leave that alone. And let's change the description here. Allow EAP in general. Submit. So this allow EAP is what I'm going to reference in the policy set. That's what we're looking for. Let's go over to the policy sets. As you can see, I have wireless MAB, the wireless MAB policy that is there. We're going to create a new policy. And we'll name this lab access. And we'll name it PEAP. PEAP auth. And what is the condition that we're looking for? I want to look for 8021X, wireless 8021X, and you have some conditions here. You can also create your own as well. We're going to keep things simple. We'll do wireless 8021X. That's the condition that I'm looking for in order for you to hit that policy. We'll click Use. And the allowed protocols, which is what I just created, allow EAP. We'll click Save. Now we start building the rest of the policy. Let's open up our policy. We'll click View. And then the first thing we're going to touch is the authentication policy. How do we want these devices to authenticate? So let's add some conditions here. And we'll call this MS Chap V2. So that's what we're doing with EAP. And let's find that as the condition, right? So we're not doing EAP TLS. We want to do EAP MS Chap version 2 here. So PEAP. And we see that it is an option there on the side. And again, you can customize this. You can create your own conditions. That's the powerful thing about ISE. We're going to drag this over. If it lets me drag it over. There we go. We'll dump it in there. So we're looking at EAP MS Chat version 2. And let's also add 8021X here as well into the policy. We'll click Use. We're not going to save that into the library. So we're taking a look at EAP MS Chat version 2. What directory am I using, right? I can have internal users. I can create my own users in ISE. Depending on your organization, you might be using Active Directory. There's a number of services out there that you might be using to keep track of your users. I have Active Directory in the lab. I'm going to select DavNet AD. And then as a default there, let's stop you from authenticating. Let's deny access. Let's take a look at authorization policies. Let's scroll down here. So who am I going to allow to authenticate, right? So that's the condition. So let's click plus there. Allow family. We'll do that. And the reason for that is because the name of the AD group is family. So that's the condition that I'm looking for. All right. So we see on the left side, DavNet AD family. So that's the group, that's the Active Directory group that my account is in to authenticate. There we go. DavNet AD family. That's all I'm looking for. So let's click Use. So allow family. This is the condition. You have to be in this Active Directory group. And then at that point, we're going to permit access. We're not doing anything with security groups, secure group tags, but that's really it. Let's click Save. And I've created the policy set here. I've created the policy to allow that connectivity in, and we're going to test it out real quick. So let's do that. Let's go up and connect. Lab auth. And we'll log in with the Active Directory account that I created, that I have. We'll click OK. There's the self-signed cert. Let's make sure that I update my settings here. And it's thinking. There we go. Lab auth. I am connected in. Here we go. Let's refresh here. All right. So now operations, let's take a look at live logs. But we can see there, lab access, PEAP, MS Chat version 2. Let's click on the report here and see what information it gives us. Authentication successful, my username, it's showing us PEAP, it's showing us the policy that I hit, permitting access, PEAP MS Chat version 2, and then you can see all the information back and forth of what's happening with the authentication on the right side. But this is good. This shows a successful authentication. Took a little bit there, but honestly, it worked well. So right now, I got rid of MAB pretty much in the lab. How can I make things a little bit better? Like we were talking about earlier, using EAP TLS, using certificates on the endpoint, certificates in ISE. There's a lot of ways that we can continue to increase our security posture, to make things better, to make things more secure. And over the next couple of weeks, we will talk about it. Today, we took a look at PEAP. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.